the issue is getting these people that have been bombarded so much to even want to have a conversation, to even talk to them.
Sure. Okay. What we're talking about is you've got a couple problems going on. One, people are just kind of fed up, right? Because there's so many people coming to the door.
Right.
So you're dealing with people that don't even want to open the door sometimes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then if they do open the door, they almost are already ready to not listen because
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? They're just like, get off my porch. So the other thing that needs to happen, one is you need a better way to disarm your customers at the door and then actually get them into a position where they want to listen. And then the third key here is to create urgency. Okay? If somebody hasn't had their roof looked at, we want to give them a valid reason that's actually going to motivate them to say yes. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's kind of go through some examples here. So the first thing is this: put yourself in the customer's shoes. Knock, knock, knock. You're inside. You peek out the window. You're in here making beef stroganoff for your family, and it's another damn roofer, right? So, what are they already feeling?
For one, they've already talked to probably 5 people at least.
Right. So, but they still haven't done anything, right?
Or they've had their estimates done for their insurance, and they're waiting on the roofer to get back with them, or they're waiting on the adjuster to get back with them.
Okay. So are you finding that most people they have the process underway, or they just don't?
Pretty much.
Okay. So if that's the case, have you guys tried moving into a couple different areas at all?
I've went all around, and it just seems like either I hit a rental neighborhood, or I hit where they don't have signs out or anything, but they're already dealing with other companies, and just nothing's happening. So I have went back several times to different locations and went back through the neighborhoods, but.
Okay. So, well, there's a couple things here. So, one, sometimes the advice that I like to give is if a customer says, well, I already have a roofer, sometimes that's a 50-50. Because if they've got somebody and somebody's already got a contingency and they're basically doing the same thing you're doing, well, you just came to the game too late, right?
Right.
But sometimes what people mean when they say that is they have somebody that did their roof 6 years ago, so they know a guy, but that doesn't necessarily mean they did something. They're not communicating that to you, but they say, well, I already have a roofer, okay? Or maybe somebody came and left them a business card and was like, here, well, call me if you need anything, and they're saying to you, well, I already have a roofer. The sentence I already have a roofer does not necessarily always mean 100% of the time I have a contract with somebody who is doing it for the insurance proceeds, right? But how do we uncover that? Okay? So, what I like to say is something like this, because we just want to find out if that's what the actual situation is. So you can say, Mrs. Jones, I totally understand. I know that everybody has a roof on their house, so somebody put it up there. But if your guy is just a roofing contractor, he's probably not necessarily a storm restoration contractor. And the difference is a typical roofer knows how to put on a roof, and they can write you a bid for a new roof, and you could certainly turn that into your insurance company. But they don't actually necessarily know how to identify legitimate storm damage or let you know if it is something that would be viable for turning in as an insurance claim. And then once the insurance process is underway, most roofers, they don't know anything about Xactimate software, which is what we all have to use because the insurance companies do it. They don't know about recovering depreciation. A lot of customers get, unfortunately, just due to a little bit of ignorance, they end up getting kind of screwed out of the proper claim indemnification. So everybody's got a roofer. Not everybody has a storm restoration contractor helping them out. And so if you see all the roofs that are going up here right now, our company's been helping a lot of the customers nearby and the homeowners. And Mrs. Jones, I'm not a roof salesman. I'm not going around giving people bids and selling roofs. That's not what I do. I specifically deal with insurance claims. So what we do is I pop up on the roof. If there's no hail damage and like you guys are good to go, I just let you know that. I'm not going to waste your time or mine if there's no damage up there. But if there is damage, I'll take good pictures of it, come down, and I'll let you know what we can do to help you out with an actual insurance claim if it's necessary. And this, and sometimes I like to throw in, two houses down, your neighbor Kim and John, like they actually didn't even have damage. And I don't know if maybe their roof was just a little bit newer than some of the surrounding houses, but this person have done all theirs. So it's better safe than sorry. I mean, would you like me to pop over? I can come over 4:30 tomorrow, or would 6:30 work better after I get done looking at Kim and John's again? Right. Okay.
Right.
So.
And I've used that strategy as far as your neighbors and
Yep.
stuff, because I like to hit multiple places in an area because it just works best that way, and
Absolutely.
it gets you right in that way.
Absolutely. And so using that approach, this doesn't mean that you're not going to have somebody that says, no, I literally have a contract, somebody's already doing my roof. That might still pop up, but without handling the objection in that way, you're never going to uncover if that's the truth or not, right?
Okay.
So if 1 out of 5 times that's actually the case, they quote unquote have a roofer that they could call, but nobody's actually signed up doing their roof right now, then you need to be able to overcome that objection, right?
Right.
So that's one way to handle that. Now, first of all, any questions about that? Because I'm going to jump to a different angle on this whole thing.
No.
Okay. So the next thing is urgency. So let's say you knock on somebody's door and they don't have a roofer. That's not their objection. Is that still happening sometimes?
They just are not interested.
Okay. So they say, I'm not interested.
I got my roof done 2 years ago. My roof's fine.
Absolutely. Okay, so customers are sometimes going to say something like that. So, what is the real objection? If they say, I'm not interested, what does that actually mean, do you think?
Maybe they had a bad experience last time.
Right. Maybe they just are annoyed. They don't even know what
Right.
they're not interested in. If you show up on the door and they're just like, I'm not interested, you could have been offering them a Rolls Royce as a free gift. But they just, they see someone at their door, so they just don't want to be interested, okay? So
Right.
let's go, when we talk about handling objections, we want to go deeper than the surface level objection. So if somebody just says, I'm not interested, here's how I like to try to salvage that interaction. So I'd say, this is Jones. First of all, and actually let's back up, Jana. Let's start with the very first door knock, okay? Knock, knock, knock. Somebody opens the door. Can I help you? And what most people are doing is they're using a shit approach. They're saying, hi, my name's John with ABC Roofing, and I don't know if you noticed, but there's a bunch of it. They don't, that's what every other Tom, Dick, and Harry is saying at the door too, so they're not interested. You following me?
And it's obvious, yes, there's hail damage.
Exactly, they get it. So instead, you knock on the door and they're like, can I help you? And you're like, Mrs. Jones, but of course you can't call them by their name. It's just a habit of me saying Mrs. Jones, but it's like, hey, what's going on? I'm really sorry to knock on your door. I know you guys have just been like blitzed by contractors for the last few months. It's been crazy out here. So like, I really hate to knock on your door. I hate it when people knock on my door too. But do you happen to know Gary and Teresa on the corner? Or like John and Mary over here? Yes or no, it doesn't matter. All right, well, I know there's been like a ton of frenzy around here from that hailstorm, and a lot of people just kind of like froze up because there's storm chasers coming through the neighborhood and nobody wants to get ripped off and all that stuff. But that storm that came through, like, legitimately did leave quite a bit of damage, and these couple neighbors over here, and you can name drop as many as you want, but I've done inspections for these houses over the last like week or two, and they did have damage. And if you have your phone there, scroll 2 or 3 or 4 pictures. Be like, they actually did have quite a bit of damage, which was surprising because some of the roofs have been replaced over the last couple years out here because you guys have had quite a few storms. But they ended up having damage, and I'm assuming if they have it, most of the houses nearby could have it too. Doesn't mean you do. There's been 1 and 2 here or there that just for whatever reason must have got hit with snowballs. We don't really know. But the winter is fast approaching, and a lot of like storm chasers are finally gone and all that stuff, and we're kind of left where winter's coming. And if you've lived in Colorado for more than 1 year, winter kind of lasts through April sometimes. And so we're kind of running out of time here for, if you did need to file a claim, there's time to do that and then time to get the roof replaced. So we're kind of doing our last sweep of inspections here before that season and that window's kind of up. Nobody wants to get left, next year where the roof finally leaks because enough of the granules came off, and with the freezing and the thawing and the freezing and the thawing, finally something happened, and you didn't file a claim, earlier in the year because there's just too much chaos around it. We're trying to avoid that. I'm not going to tell you have damage if you don't, because it's a huge waste of my time. But I do have to come through. Like I said, I'm kind of doing the last sweep before it starts to get cold out here over the next couple weeks. And I could come over on Friday at 4, or would 5:45 work better for you guys? Okay, so I gave you kind of a long-winded version of that, Janet. The reason that I did that was I'm giving you all the little pieces that you can use in an approach like that. You understand?
And I am taking notes.
Perfect. So do you see, though, how that approach, what did that sound like to you? If you were a customer at the door, how would you have responded to an approach like that?
I think that's going to work so much better than what it has been.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much better.
And why?
Because of the time of year.
Right.
And it's about to be winter, and it is Colorado.
That's the truth. The thing is, that's the truth. You guys are not, after November, you guys are probably not consistently going to be climbing on roofs. There's going to be snow. Right. There's going to be ice. And then, you guys don't, sure, we get some builds in here or there during the winter season when we have those weird warm snaps, like, in March or April or whatever. But until the end of April, sometimes into May, we've got snowstorms happening. So what we're doing is we're giving the homeowner some information that probably nobody else has said, not in a non-threatening way. A lot of roofers will say, well, you're running out of time and winter's about to come. And they go, yeah, thanks, but I'm good. But when you explain it in the way that I did, which was just like, Mrs. Jones, I really don't care if you have me on your roof or not, but I'm just letting you know the situation is like, there is damage out here and you've proven it. You've name dropped. People can trust you. There is damage out here. I'm not going to tell you there's damage if you don't have it, because it's a waste of my time. And the truth is, like, we're kind of running out of time here. Like, if better safe than sorry, like, you want me to pop up there, no big deal. If not, okay. So when you approach it that way, they're actually listening to you. Do you also hear how I'm not talking fast? Did you hear how I slowed way down when I started talking?
Right, and emphasize some key things there.
Well, and I slowed down because most salespeople are in such a hurry to get to the point because they know that in their mind, I only have a few seconds before this person loses interest. So they try to like, have you ever been on the phone with AT&T or like Cox Cable when you're trying to like cancel a plan and they're trying to get you to not cancel the plan and they talk so fast? Okay, so we don't want to sound like that. We don't want to sound like a telemarketer. Okay? And so the reason I slowed way down was because my attitude is, I'm just giving you information. Like, I'm in no hurry here. I'm not a fast-talking salesperson. Like, I'm just letting you know what's up in the hood. Right?
Right.
Okay, so if you can kind of pay attention to that approach and dissect it piece by piece and hear all the nuances from the tone of my voice to the way, and I know you can't see my face right now. I am recording this, though, so I'll post this later and hopefully you can watch it. But you can even see in my face, I'm just like, what? It's fine, whatever. Like, that's the approach you want to take, because everybody else comes and they've got their notebook and they're like, I'm Brian from ABC Roofing. Are you aware that you probably have hail damage on your roof and time is running out? Like, that's the approach. Even if that's not exactly what they say, that's the energy that they put into the interaction. Does that make sense?
And they know that it's just fake.
Nobody cares. It's like, even if I know that that's true, I don't respond well to the approach that you're using, the tone, the speed. So it's bringing you back to your humanness and saying, how would I talk to this person if it was my aunt? And she wasn't in a hurry to get me off the porch. What would I say? And I knew I didn't have to sell her, quote unquote.
And it's not that exciting, right?
Exactly.
To deal with this stuff.
Exactly. Okay, so when it comes to urgency, and you can drop in there, I can't believe I forgot to say this, but it's like, you want to add in, it's like, insurance policies allow for 365 days from the storm date. So that really doesn't give us, like, when summer's over, that's kind of it. Like, it sounds like, oh, you have 6 more months, but we're not really getting up. Insurance adjusters are not getting up on frost covered, ice covered, snow covered roofs, and roofers are not trying to pull your roof off. And if it might take 2 days to do it, in the middle of that, we get hit with a freak blizzard, right? So
And that's more damage.
exactly. And so that's kind of that's what we're trying to communicate to the customer. Okay? But the other thing I want to bring to your attention was, in the beginning, I didn't spend any time introducing myself or talking about my insurance or my roofing company or what my name was or how long I've been around or my rating with the BBB. None of that. You notice that?
Okay.
Instead, I spent probably 10 seconds just not apologizing, because you also don't just want to be like, ugh, like so apologetic, but I'm not doing what every other roofer is doing, which is knock, knock, knock. Hey, sorry to bug you, but I'm blah, 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 blah. Did that sound like a very sincere apology? No.
It just sounds like they're trying to sell something. They're not concerned about the customer.
Bingo. They're like, well, I said it, so I'm being polite. That doesn't work. So instead, I'm like, Mrs. Jones, I'm really sorry to knock on your door. Like, I know you've probably been bombarded. I hate it when people knock on my door. My dog goes nuts. I'm usually eating or watching Sons of Anarchy, whatever. Make a joke, like connect with them. And when you do that, you'll see them relax in their face, and sometimes they're even like, it's like, no worries, like, what's going on? Instead of, yeah, all right, well, I'm not interested, okay? Because they approach you that way because they're like, this person's just talking at me, they're not talking with me.
Right.
Okay? So, all of this to say, there are a couple things that you can do to change your approach, to get better results, to handle the real objection at the door. But then the other part of it is just going to have to be accepting that at this time of year, if you are in a market that's been totally bombarded, then you're going to have to accept that you're going to need to dig through more dirt to find those gold nuggets. AKA, you're going to need to knock more doors to find those deals, right?
Okay.
So, feedback on that there.
My idea has just been that they've been just overknocked and they're not going to respond now. Now this gives me a different approach to it for sure.
Absolutely. And remember
that I didn't have before. So.
Yep. And remember to be careful what you're telling yourself. Be careful what you believe the truth is, because there's no one single truth, okay? The truth is, if there's one single truth about the market, there are still roofs. There always are. There's always opportunity. I just talked to one of my contractors that's out of Greensboro, North Carolina, and they're killing it. They haven't had a storm all year. And I can't remember how many roofs that just, man, I wish I wrote it down. He said something about 60 or 70, and I don't know if that was for the last month or whatever it was, but there's always opportunity. And if you assume that one thing is just keeping you from getting the results you want, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you're not identifying the real truth or the alternate opportunities that are available to you. Like, if somebody says, well, I already have a roofer, if you just believe they have a contract, they're not interested, then you might miss 10, 20% of the people that actually don't have a roofer. They just said that, and it meant something else. It meant, well, someone did my roof 3 years ago. I mean, I know who they are. I've got one. Thanks for stopping by. Because what they're actually saying is, if I have a problem, I can call the guy that did my roof 3 years ago. But that doesn't mean I signed a contingency, State Farm sent me my first check, we're good to go.
Right.
Okay. So, yeah, that's the approach that you kind of have to take. And, this time of year, urgency is really key. Approaching the door in a way that, like, you disarm people, because you know that they're a little bit aggravated potentially that you are the 10th person that knocked on their door. But remembering that, look, just because people have had a bunch of people knock on the door, I talk about this all the time. I don't know if you've heard this in some of the videos, but there are 3 groups of people when it comes to adopting something. So think about, like, the internet, okay? When the internet first came out, there were like the early adopters, the science nerds and stuff that were just like, hell yeah, the internet, and they jumped in right away, right?
Right.
Then there's like a second group of people that was like, and we call those the early adopters, by the way. The people are just like, yeah, let's try it, absolutely. And those are the people that you knock on their door and they go, sure, come on in. And you're like, oh, okay. So that's like a small group of people. Then you've got the second group, which we call the bandwagoners. And those people are like not so quick to jump in with both feet. They kind of wait to see, like, oh, one of my neighbors did. Oh, okay, another neighbor did.
Right.
All right, well, everybody seems to be doing it, so I'm going to do it too. And they wait a few weeks or sometimes a couple months, right? Then you have the cynical, skeptical, late adopters. These people say no to everyone. It doesn't matter if Channing Tatum showed up in a thong. Mrs. Jones was not going to say yes because she was just like, no, no, no. Too many people showing up. I don't trust this. And they wait. And they wait. They might wait 6 or 8 months or until next spring to finally take the right person seriously because they kind of just want to wait to see if the dust settles.
And I've got a lot of responses like that too. I'm just going to wait till spring.
Yep, and it's like,
So,
Mrs. Jones, and by the way, if so, let's handle that objection. It's going to be very similar to what I said, but if somebody says that, here's what I would say. I'd be like, Mrs. Jones, I totally understand wanting to do that because it just seems like a lot of hassle. I do just want to put a bug in your ear about doing that, though. Insurance companies only allow 1 year from the storm date to file a claim, and here's the problem. We live in Colorado, where winter lasts sometimes through May. And that doesn't give a lot of time for one, actually having a proper inspection done. Because if there's damage up there, first of all, I would not recommend allowing a Colorado winter with thawing and freezing and snow and ice to go through with potential hail damage on the roof. Like, that's not this, you might get away scot-free, nothing happens, but what if it does? And now it's not just roof damage, it's roof damage and interior damage and wood rot. Now the ceiling's staining and falling down, right? Just in case. And technically, like, when you file a claim, insurance companies, the policy says the insured is responsible for mitigating potential future damages. So it's like, if we know that something happened, it's our job as homeowners to file a claim early on, because let's say that now it costs $15,000, but in the spring there's more damage and now it's $20,000. Insurance companies don't really like that, and they do kind of tighten their purse strings the more that the year goes on. I've been doing this for a long time. I've personally handled 87 claims this year myself, and I can see exactly what it's like when the insurance company gets toward the end of the year. They budget for stuff like this, and when it gets toward the end of the year, they just kind of get a little more strict. And Mrs. Jones, the other thing is the adjusters really aren't trying to climb roofs in the winter and the spring, and by the time that time rolls around, like, it's almost toward the end of the claim period. So just something to think about. It only takes a couple minutes. It's really not a big deal. And that's my job, is I handle all of the red tape with the insurance claim. If there's damage up there, better to know now. It's better safe than sorry. I have to be back here anyway because I'm kind of doing the final sweep of the neighborhood. Would Tuesday at like 4:30 or 6 o'clock work better for you? Okay?
Right.
So those are just things that you can say. And again, I gave you kind of a long-winded version just so that you could pull out all of the info.
Absolutely.
Right?
You've helped a lot already. Thank you.
Absolutely. So take those with you. Practice those. And like I said, I actually am recording this, so I'll post this on YouTube later. And you can kind of listen to those approaches again. But that's going to be a huge help to you.
I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, Jana. Well, I'm going to let you go here. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I really hope that helps. And like I said,